Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Dr. Barkis Ophthalmology Tutorials. In this video, I will be discussing about the anatomy and the physiology of the lacrimal apparatus. So in this video, I will be discussing everything about the anatomy of the lacrimal gland, the anatomy of the lacrimal passage system, and in the lacrimal passage system, I will be discussing the anatomy of each structure in detail, followed by the physiology of the drainage of the tear film. Okay. So without much delay, let's begin our video. So let's see the lacrimal apparatus anatomy and the physiology. So as you can see in this picture, this is the lacrimal gland and this is the lacrimal drainage system. So the lacrimal gland is responsible for production of the tear film and this drainage system is responsible for draining the tear film from the conjunctival sac into the nasopharynx. So the lacrimal glands can be divided into the main lacrimal gland and the accessory lacrimal gland. So this is the main lacrimal gland. In the accessory lacrimal gland, we have the glands of Kruse as well as glands of Wolfring. First, let's discuss the anatomy of the lacrimal gland. So this is the lacrimal gland. The size of the lacrimal gland is about the size of a small almond. It has two parts as you can see here, the larger one and the smaller one. The larger part is also called as the superior lobe or the orbital lobe, whereas the smaller one is also called as the palpebral lobe or the inferior one. So where exactly it is located? It is situated in the outer part of the orbital plate of the frontal bone. Okay. So this place is also called as fossa for lacrimal gland. Remember, it is called as fossa for lacrimal gland. The main lacrimal gland has two surfaces, the superior convex surface and the inferior concave surface. So it has numerous ducts which will open into the superior fornix. So where this small palpebral lobe is situated, it is just below the main lacrimal gland, but the ducts of this main lacrimal gland pass through the small palpebral part. So whenever you are doing surgery and if you just remove this palpebral part of the lacrimal gland also, the lacrimal gland will not be functioning because there is no passage for the secretion of the lacrimal fluid or the tear fluid from the gland to the conjunctiva. This small palpebral part has just one or two lobes and this also has numerous ducts which will open into the superior fornix. And one more important point about this palpebral part is, if you just retract the upper eyelid and ask the patient to look down, you can see this palpebral part of the lacrimal gland which is prolapsing there. So this is one of the ways to look for the lacrimal gland. So let's see the accessory lacrimal glands, which are nothing but the glands of Wolfring and the Kruse. Let's see the anatomy and the distribution of the accessory lacrimal glands, which includes glands of Kruse, okay, as well as glands of Wolfring. So the glands of Kruse, okay, these are very microscopic glands which are situated in the palpebral conjunctiva between the fornix and the tarsal plate, okay, between the fornix and the edge of the tarsus. It is about 42 in number in the upper fornix and 6 to 8 in the lower fornix. Coming to the glands of Wolfring, these are present near the upper end of the tarsal plate in the upper eyelid and the lower end of the tarsal plate in the lower eyelid. The main lacrimal gland is responsible for the reflex tear secretion, whereas the accessory lacrimal glands provide the basic tear secretion. Okay. Coming to the blood supply of the lacrimal gland, it is from the lacrimal artery, which is a branch of the ophthalmic artery. The nerve supply, the sensory nerve supply is from the lacrimal nerve. Sympathetic is from the carotid plexus around the cervical sympathetic chain. It has the secretomotor fibers from the superior salivatory nucleus, which passes through the greater petrosal nerve and relays in the pterygopalatine ganglion, and then through the zygomatic nerve it enters the lacrimal nerve and then supplies the lacrimal gland. So the lacrimal gland has all the sensory, sympathetic as well as secretomotor fibers. So next, moving on to the lacrimal passage system, which is responsible for draining your tear film. We have four parts mainly. The first one is the punctum, okay. The second is the canaliculi, and the third is the lacrimal sac, and the fourth is the nasolacrimal duct. So let's see each in detail now. Coming to the punctum, so this is the punctum which is shown here. So where exactly it is located? So if you divide the eyelid into 6 parts, it is located at the junction of the lateral 5/6 and the medial 1/6 area. So this lateral 5/6 area also contains the eyelashes, hence it is called as pars ciliaris, and the medial 1/6 is not having any eyelashes and it is called as pars lacrimalis. So it is situated at that junction and it is situated little posteriorly, as you can see. Only when you avert the lower eyelid you can appreciate the punctum. So if you measure from the medial canthus, it is around 6 millimeters from the medial canthus in the upper eyelid and around 6.5 millimeter from the medial canthus in the lower eyelid. So where you see the punctum, the eyelid margin is little elevated, and this elevation is more appreciated in the older people, and this is called as the lacrimal papilla. Okay, so this is about the anatomy of the punctum. Next anatomical structure is the canaliculi. So we have two canaliculi, upper canaliculi and the lower canaliculi, and each canaliculi has two parts, the vertical part and the horizontal part. The vertical part is 2 mm in length and the horizontal part is 8 mm in length. Okay, so these two canaliculi may either join to form the common canaliculi here, or they may open directly into the lacrimal sac as individual canaliculi. At the junction where they open into the lacrimal sac, there is a fold of mucosa which will form a valve. That valve is called as valve of Rosen-Muller. So this prevents the reflux from the lacrimal sac into the canaliculi when the orbicularis oculi muscle contracts. So this is about the anatomy of the canaliculi. It carries importance when you are doing the lacrimal syringing, because when you are passing the needle, the first 2 millimeters of the needle should enter vertically, then it should bend horizontally. But if you try to push the needle from the punctum horizontally, you may injure the canaliculi and you may end up in creating a false passage. Next, coming to the important structure, that is the lacrimal sac. In the lacrimal sac, what you should know, the dimensions of the lacrimal sac, where exactly it is situated, that is the lacrimal fossa, the bones forming the lacrimal fossa, and the insertion of the orbicularis oculi muscle to the lacrimal sac. So the dimensions of the lacrimal sac, when it is distended, vertically it is around 10 to 12 millimeters and horizontally it is around 5 to 6 millimeters, and the capacity of the lacrimal sac is around 2 cc. So where it is situated? It is situated in the anterior part of the medial orbital wall. So this is the medial orbital wall. So in the anterior wall of the medial orbital wall, the lacrimal sac is situated in the fossa called as the lacrimal fossa, which is formed by the lacrimal bone and the frontal process of the maxillary bone. So this bone directly opposes over the middle meatus of the nose. Okay. So whenever you are doing the DCR surgery or the dacrocystorhinostomy surgery, you are opening in the lacrimal bone and creating a passage here. So that is the clinical importance here. And in this anatomy, you can also see this is the crest. Okay, a elevation in the bone. This crest has two parts. This is the anterior lacrimal crest and this is the posterior lacrimal crest, and in the fossa we have the lacrimal sac situated. And the periorbita, which is covering these bones, will also form a fascia and cover the lacrimal sac. This is called as the lacrimal fascia, which encloses the sac and is formed by the periorbita. Coming to the parts of the lacrimal sac, we have fundus of the lacrimal sac, which is situated above the medial palpebral ligament. Means the medial palpebral ligament or the MPL will be covering at this part. So that part which is above the MPL ligament is called as the fundus. Then comes the body, and then the neck is the junction of lacrimal sac to the nasolacrimal duct. So the fundus is 3 to 5 mm in dimension and the body is around 10 mm. So next we have the continuation, that is called as nasolacrimal duct. So the orbicularis oculi muscle, which has pretarsal in the preseptal part, will insert onto the fundus and the body of the lacrimal sac, both anteriorly and posteriorly. The contraction and relaxation of this muscle is responsible for the movement of the tear film from the conjunctival sac to the nasolacrimal duct. This is the picture which is showing Horner's muscle, okay, which is a part of the orbicularis oculi muscle which is inserting over the lacrimal sac area. So coming to the nasolacrimal duct, it is around 12 to 24 mm in length and 3 mm in diameter, and it is enclosed in a bony canal which is formed by the maxilla as well as the inferior turbinate bones. As you can see in this picture, it passes downwards and slightly outwards and backwards, opens at the anterior part of the outer wall of the inferior meatus of the nose. So at the point where it opens into the inferior meatus, it again has one more valve called as valve of Hasner, which closes this opening whenever it's needed to prevent the reflux of contents from the nose into the nasolacrimal duct. Nasolacrimal duct is narrowest at its upper end. If you go for the external marking of the nasolacrimal duct, it is from the line joining the inner canthus to the groove between the ala of the nose and the cheek. So this is about NLD or the nasolacrimal duct. Coming to the histology, the lacrimal sac and the nasolacrimal duct are lined by the columnar epithelium, whereas the canaliculi are lined by the non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Let's move on to the physiological part now. The lacrimal gland secretion, that is the lacrimal part of the tear film, is alkaline in nature. The main content is sodium chloride. Most of the tear film is lost by the evaporation from the ocular surface, and the remaining is drained by the lacrimal apparatus. In that, the 70% is drained by the lower canaliculi and the remaining 30% is drained by the upper canaliculi. So the tear film is secreted from the lacrimal gland and it is smearing over the ocular surface, and that part of the tear film which is there near the medial canthus is called as lacus lacrimalis, to which the punctum will open. Okay. So here the orbicularis oculi muscle plays a very important role in draining the tear film from the conjunctival sac to the nasolacrimal duct. So when the orbicularis oculi muscle contracts, that is when we close the eyelids, there is contraction of both pretarsal muscle as well as preseptal muscle. So when the pretarsal muscle is contracting, it will squeeze the tear film from the ampulla as well as the canaliculi and direct it towards the sac. Since the preseptal muscle is also contracted, it will distend the lacrimal sac, thereby creating a negative pressure inside the lacrimal sac, which will suck the fluid from the canaliculi. Okay, so this happens when the orbicularis oculi muscle is contracting. So when it relaxed, what happens? Since it is relaxed, the lacrimal sac will collapse. Okay, so thereby draining the fluid towards the nasolacrimal duct, and the pretarsal part is also relaxing, thereby distending the ampulla as well as canaliculi and drawing the fluid from the conjunctival sac into the canalicular part. So this is the physiology behind the drainage of the tear film. So you need to understand in detail about the anatomy of the lacrimal passage system to know further about the causes and the management of the watering and even the dacrocystitis management. And most of the examiners will frequently ask you people to draw the diagram of the lacrimal passage system. Just draw this diagram including the punctum, lower and the upper canaliculi, common canaliculi, sac and the nasolacrimal duct. Okay. So hope this video on anatomy and the physiology of the lacrimal apparatus including the lacrimal gland and the passage system was useful to all of you. If you like my videos, please do subscribe to my channel. Press the bell icon for further notifications. Please do share and like my videos. Thank you so much.